Chapter 6. Vaggie immediately tossed the shoes to the side and began running through the house as quickly as she could. She bolted up the stairs and only allowed herself to catch her breath when she was back on the floor that she remembered her bedroom being on. As Vaggie leaned against the blood-red wall, her eyes settled on a mirror on the wall across from where she was standing. In the mirror, Vaggie could see the bruises on her neck. They didn't camouflage into her purple skin at all. The spots were dark red, fresh, and plain to see. A shudder ran through Vaggie's spine. Alastor was no genius at romance, but he was right about hickeys. They were away to mark territory. Vaggie covered them with her hands fearfully as she remembered her patrons back in El Salvador and what they did when they started getting possessive. Vaggie felt a fearful tear run down her cheek before she took a deep breath to give herself strength. She would not be a rich man's property. Not again. "I don't care how obsessed you are with me," Vaggie said, turning away from the mirror and wandering around her room searching for Angel as she briefly reflected on Alastor's behavior. It was beyond creepy, especially that line, "Women are made to bear and so are you." Vaggie shook her head and forced herself to focus on the task at hand. What happened, but Angel still needed her help. Vaggie crept the hallway quietly listening for any sign of Angel. All right, if I were a freaky, sex-crazed Mary Poppins, where would I hide my victims? Vaggie questioned out loud. Suddenly, Vaggie heard the sound of Angel's screams coming from just ahead of her. "Ugh!" Angel screamed out in agony before he laughed painfully. "Oh, baby. More. More." His voice caused Vaggie to shudder fearfully in her tracks as she finally found the room, twisted the knob open, and peeked inside. Vaggie held her hands over her mouth to cover her horrified gasp. Angel was chained on a rack with his back exposed, his arms chained up, and his legs held in restraints. The poor spider demon had scars on his back from the leather whip Rosie was holding in her hands. In a flash, Rosie lashed her whip against Angel's bare back again, causing the spider demon to scream out in agony. Rosie turned the wheeled contraption Angel was strapped to around, wrapped her leather-covered leg around his waist, pushed her chest against his, and asked, "Are you sure about that, sweetie?" "I can take anything you can dish out, lady," Angel said before his eyes locked with Vaggie's. Angel's eyes flashed in panic as Rosie's wrinkled lips locked with his. Then Angel said, "Lady, please, this is torture." "Oh?" Rosie asked, licking Angel's cheeks. "Yeah," Angel answered with a smirk. "You pressing your sweaty, saggy tits against my bruised chest really stings." Rosie then kicked Angel in the chest, spun him around, and began whipping him more viciously than before. It suddenly occurred to Vaggie that Angel said this on purpose so that Rosie would be distracted. She quickly glanced around the room for anything she could use as a distraction. Vaggie's eyes settled on a vase on a table down a hall holding more of those blood-red flowers. The vase gave her an idea. It was a bad one, but bad ideas were better than no ideas at all at this point. So, Vaggie pulled out a spare knife she had hidden on her person and tossed it at the vase, causing it to shatter on contact. Vaggie then backed herself against the wall and held her breath as she heard Rosie stop her whipping and run into the hall. When she dared to look at her, she had to keep herself from gagging. Rosie was dressed in a leather dominatrix outfit with absurdly high stripper heels. "Oh, Vaggie!" Rosie called out upon noticing the broken vase. "You silly little girl. You should know better than to interrupt my playtime." In a flash, Rosie dashed right down the hall and disappeared out of sight. When she vanished, Vaggie breathed a sigh of relief and ran back into the room to see Angel panting in exhaustion. Vaggie quickly shut the door and said, "Angel? Is she gone?" Angel quickly interrupted. "Yes, I think so," Vaggie said quietly. "Oh, thank God," Angel said, breathing a sigh of relief. "I'm so glad you're here." "Shhh," Vaggie said, running over to the other side of the rack to look Angel in the eye. "I'll get you down, but you have to be quiet." You got it? How do I get you down from there? The keys are on that table, Angel said, gesturing with his head to a bedside table with a lamp and a book on it. Vaggie quickly grabbed the keys and began releasing all of Angel's limbs from the rack. When she was done, Angel fell forward on the ground tiredly. Angel, are you all right? Vaggie asked, fearfully worried that Angel was injured. Can you walk? Yeah, babe, Angel said with a smile as he reabsorbed his extra pair of arms and got to his feet while putting on his coat that was lying on the floor. How about you? I see those hickeys. Alastor must be a rougher lover than I imagined. I'm jealous. It was completely non-consensual. I assure you, Vaggie said angrily as she began pushing the contraption towards the door to block it. Now, we need to get out of here before. You are. The merry British demon's voice called out as she stopped the contraption where it stood. What are you doing here, Vaggie? Did you want to play, too? Angel and I could always use another partner. Vaggie pushed back against Rosie's grip before she felt Angel grabbing her arm and pulling her back behind him just as Rosie rolled the contraption across the room to get a better look at her captives. Angel stepped in front of Vaggie as he summoned his Tommy gun and his bat. Vaggie looked around for a weapon and only found the book and the lamp, so she grabbed the lamp off the table with one hand and grabbed the book to use as a shield. Oh, dear, Rosie said with an amused smile. Do you two intend to fight back? How adorable. I love it when I can get down and dirty. Bring it on, you dominatrix bitch. Vaggie spat back. Angel stuck his tongue out and said lewdly, I'm gonna screw you as you screwed me, ya crazy bitch. I hope you're ready. I think I just threw up in my mouth a little, Vaggie said out loud. Make your way to the window, Angel muttered to Vaggie, gesturing his head back towards the window. And prepare to jump. Got it, Vaggie replied with a nod. Oh, I am so defenseless, Rosie retorted sarcastically, putting one hand on her hip and twiddling her fingers against her face with the other hand. What's a little old lady to do? Then with a snap of her fingers, Rosie summoned her umbrella and 6 penguin familiars and said, Ladies, how about you show these brutes some manners? Bring it, bitch. Angel yelled back as Vaggie threw open the window. Vaggie, grab on. Vaggie dropped her lamp and grabbed onto Angel's side as he dissolved his bat and picked her up with his extra arms, but unfortunately before Angel and Vaggie could jump out the window slammed in their face. Enough. Alastor's voice suddenly rang out. The 3 demons and penguin villains turned to look at Alastor, who suddenly appeared on the other side of the room. I believe we can settle this dispute in a more civilized manner, Alastor said, stepping between the 2 warring parties. That is, if you two are willing to cooperate. Angel reflexively held Vaggie tighter against his side and took another step backward as Alastor continued. How about this? Vaggie, if you stay with me, I will let this hairy mess go. Then as long as you are obedient and loving, I will let you visit the hotel once a month. What do you say, dear? Vaggie knew she didn't have a choice. Angel couldn't stay there. He had already suffered enough. If Vaggie said no, Angel would spend the rest of eternity as Rosie's sex slave. Not even he deserved that. Vaggie began before she felt a hand cover her mouth. Hold it right there, bucko, Angel interrupted as he pointed his gun straight at Alastor. You have to fucking insane to think that I'm going to just leave and let you pound Vaggie like a goddamn piece of meat. I ain't leaving without her. And if that means I have to claw my way out of here with her, so be it. Alastor's eyes twitched for a brief second before he flashed a cruel smile, snapped his fingers causing Angel's gun to disappear and Vaggie's lamp to disappear, and said, Suit yourself then. Before either Angel or Vaggie had time to react, Alastor tapped his staff on the ground and instantly teleported everyone present into a dark, cool dungeon room. The cell was built completely out of grey stone. It was oddly spacious and horizontally long, able to hold the 4 demons comfortably, and that was about the best thing about it. There were a toilet and a sink with a mirror on the back wall on one end of the cell to the right, a single bed with a bare mattress and pillow on the other end of the cell to the left, and chains hanging on the bare wall between them. The only light sources were a light bulb with a pull string hanging from the ceiling and a small, horizontal window about the size of a 2x4 board above the bed where the light met the ceiling. Iron prison bars made up the fourth wall. Their cold, menacing, vertical poles were spaced evenly and only interrupted by an iron bar door on the very right which at the moment was hanging open with a black key hanging in the lock of the door much like it would be in jail cells from the 1930s. Vaggie and Angel looked around fearfully at their new surroundings. The cell was oddly clean, but there were still faint blood stains on the walls where the chains were. That was enough to make Vaggie let out an involuntary gasp. "You know, Alastor," Rosie began interrupting the thoughts of the two frightened prisoners practically backed up against the wall as she dismissed her minions and leaned back against the prison bars. Vaggie hasn't had a chance to answer the question herself. You're right, Rosie," Alastor replied with a smile glancing back at her before returning his gaze back to Vaggie. "So, what is your answer, Vaggie? If you stay here with me willfully, I will let Angel go, but if you refuse, he will stay and you two will both be at our disposal. So, tell me. What will it be?" Vaggie squirmed until Angel finally dropped her on the floor and then slowly walked up to Alastor looking him in the eye as much as her smaller frame would allow. "Vaggie." Angel tried to complain. Vaggie held her hand up to tell Angel to be quiet and said boldly, "Alastor, I promise to spend every day for the rest of my eternal life fighting for my freedom. I will never give in to you." Alastor's eyes narrowed as he said, "Well, then. As punishment for your defiant behavior and your trespassing, you two can spend the night in this cell." Alastor, Rosie, and Rosie's minions instantly teleported outside the cell. Alastor quickly locked the door, took the key, and continued, "Rosie and I will come for you in the morning, Vaggie. Have a good night, you two." The radio demon quickly right down the hallway out of sight. Rosie stood there for a second quietly flashing a cruel smile as her familiars disappeared before finally following behind her friend. Vaggie stood in place tensely as Angel laid himself out over the bed and stretched out his limbs. "Well, looks like you and I are spending the night here, Vaggie," Angel said nonchalantly folding his arms behind his head on top of the pillow. Vaggie didn't respond but continued staring at the hallway in front of their cell. A look of concern flashed through Angel's eyes before he said, "Hey, doll. Vaggie? Are ya there?" Vaggie finally looked over to Angel. The spider demon tapped the old mattress and said, "What do you wanna do, doll? The day is still young." Vaggie tiredly sat on the bed next to him holding the book on top of her lap and sighed. She glanced over to Angel and cringed when she noticed him staring at her with a smirk. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Vaggie demanded. "You still owe me," Angel said playfully. Vaggie looked at Angel in confusion until she finally had her revelation. "Oh, my God," Vaggie said in growing annoyance. "What?" Angel asked playfully. "You only stayed here because I owed you?" Vaggie yelled. Angel sighed with a playful smirk that got on Vaggie's nerves and said, "It beats the therapy sessions back home. Besides, this was too good an opportunity to pass up, babe." Vaggie took a deep breath to calm down and conceded, "Okay, fine. What the hell do you want?" "Just give me a moment to," Angel said nonchalantly allowing himself to wonder before he got his idea. "Wait. I know just the thing." Angel sat up, threw off his coat to reveal his bare chest, posed dramatically, and said, "I want you to snuggle between my fluffy tits." "What?" Vaggie asked incredulously. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious," Angel said playfully running his gloved hands through his chest fluff. "My skin under my fur gets cold. I need warmth. Think of it as my way of saying thanks. I don't let anyone do it for free." My customers say it's like heaven in here. Forget it, Vaggie said in annoyance, putting the book at the head of the bed next to Angel's pillow and laying down so that she was not facing him. I'll just use the book. I'm not resting my head on your STD-contaminated fur. Hey, Angel retorted. I'll have you know that I wash it every day. But if that's how you feel, babe, suit yourself. Vaggie laid down for a few minutes but very quickly got uncomfortable. She turned over and stared at Angel's chest longingly. His fluff looked so soft and silky. Like what ya see, hun? Angel teased. Fine, Vaggie snarled as she reluctantly sat up and climbed on top of Angel's chest. But this never happened. Understand? Whatever you say, hun, Angel retorted playfully as Vaggie slowly lowered her head onto Angel's fluffy chest. Vaggie lowered herself gingerly as if she were getting used to hot water in a bathtub. Angel rolled his eyes and used his lower pair of arms to push Vaggie's head on top of his chest. Angel? Vaggie yelled in protest before her head sank into the chest fluff. Oh, my God. This is so soft. It feels like cashmere. Angel chuckled as his lower arms pulled his coat over Vaggie and himself to keep them warm. That's it, doll, Angel said soothingly as his arms rested on Vaggie's back. Just relax. We both need this. Vaggie tensed up again as she began to realize the gravity of the situation that they were in. Vaggie began shuddering fearfully and taking shallow breaths, but before it could get any worse, Angel started rubbing her back. He didn't say or do anything else. He just rubbed her back until her breathing finally returned to normal. Angel then took a deep breath and picked up the book next to his head. What's this? Angel said before he read the title. The Taming of the Shrew? Oh, my God. I haven't seen this one in decades. Vaggie lifted her head up and scowled. The book again? Vaggie asked incredulously. Damn it. Alastor tossed me the fucking book yesterday to entertain myself while he ran off to talk to Rosie. The nerve of that guy. What's that book about anyway? It ain't a book, doll, Angel replied excitedly, turning open to the first page. It's a Shakespeare play. We read it in school. Oh, God, this one was one of my favorites. It's been forever. Want me to read it to ya? We still have daylight and we're gonna be stuck in here until tomorrow morning, so why not? Vaggie conceded. All right, Angel said excitedly. I'll try to explain all the stuff that's kinda confusing, but just let me know if you're having trouble following along. Vaggie smiled and relaxed into Angel's fluff as he began reading the story.
I'm glad you enjoyed that video/gameplay. Just remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye!